Let's shift our focus to other developments. A judge has issued a temporary restraining order blocking the Trump administration's plan to strip Harvard University of its ability to enroll foreign students. The order pauses a move that the U.S. Department of Homeland Security to revoke the Harvard's access to the student and the exchange visitor program, a government database that manages foreign students, and the ruling came after Harvard filed a lawsuit. It provides temporary relief to thousands of international students who were faced with the possibility of being forced to transfer. The university contended that the Trump administration's decision to bar international students was a blatant violation of the law and the free speech rights. Meanwhile, the Trump administration says Harvard has not done enough to fight anti-Semitism and change its hiring and admissions practices. Trump has meanwhile doubled down on his decision. Let's now listen in.
$2 billion, a lot of things, and as you know, billions of dollars has been paid to Harvard. How ridiculous is that? Billions. And they have $52 billion as an endowment. They have $52 billion, and this country is paying billions and billions of dollars and then gives student loans, and they have to pay back the loans. So Harvard's going to have to change its ways. And so are some others.
All right, my colleague Pia Mann is joining me with more details. Pia, in a setback to the Trump administration in a fight against the Harvard University, now the legal order restrains the Trump administration to strip the Harvard University by enrolling the foreign students. What are the latest that you are picking up on this, and what exactly the order entails to? Share more details.
Indeed, Trump's reaction that we just heard out, Simran, is very significant because towards the end, after slamming Harvard and Harvard's $52 billion endowment, Trump has stated, and he's doubled down despite the court order, stating that some other universities will also now have to change their ways. And speaking of the order itself, the court, in fact, has specified that Harvard is allowed to enroll international students. And they've also, in fact, stated that it's a temporary order. The next date of hearing is on the 29th of May. Meanwhile, this hearing is taking place in Boston. We do know that around 6,700 plus students have been impacted. Out of these 6,700 plus international students in Harvard, which basically comprise about 27% of their student body, 788 are Indian. So a lot of students are quite concerned. But the Trump administration and the Department of Homeland Security has made it clear that it has given 72 hours for the university to furnish details, especially since we've seen the protests taking place on the campus and rampant anti-Semitism on the campus. So Trump, of course, has doubled down, and this dispute between Harvard and the Trump administration is not something new. Earlier, of course, he had frozen some $2.2 billion in funds. On the 29th of January, remember, Simran, as just a few days after Trump took charge, he signed an executive order calling for tougher enforcement of efforts against anti-Semitism, pointing to the fact that Jewish students have faced discrimination at elite universities. After that, on 3rd of February, the Department of Justice had announced the creation of a multi-agency task force. Again, Trump had stated and tweeted in a post on X that it was Harvard's worst nightmare. Meanwhile, February 28th, the task force had in fact announced that it will visit 10 university campuses, and Harvard on the 10th of March was included in a list of 60 schools receiving letters from the Department of Education's Office for Civil Rights. So we've been seeing this battle between Trump and Harvard University escalate. Of course, the future of students is at limbo, but Trump is doubling down despite the court order.
All right, Pia, thank you very much with more updates that you have shared. Now, in the latest, US President Donald Trump has issued a fresh warning to Apple, saying the company should face a 25% tariff if it manufactures iPhones in India or any other place. Trump has asserted that he had already informed Apple CEO Tim Cook that he expects iPhones sold in the US to be made in the US itself. Trump then stated that if the tech titan does not comply, it could soon be on the verge of facing 25% import tax. The threat follows a recent meeting between Trump and Cook. According to a White House official, Trump was unhappy with the Apple's plan to shift more iPhone production from China to India. What's interesting is that the new comments mark a shift in Trump's position. While he previously said other countries would be bearing the cost of the tariffs, this time he made it clear that the companies themselves, like Apple, would have to pay. That could mean higher prices for consumers, as import taxes are usually passed along through the increased retail cost. Apple is not alone though. Trump's push to bring the manufacturing back to the US has targeted several major companies, including car makers, drug manufacturers, chip manufacturers, and also others. But moving smartphone production to the US could be especially costly, as the country currently does not have large-scale smartphone manufacturer. Sharat Kohli, in fact, senior economist, joins me live on the broadcast. Sir, appreciate you joining me live. Now, that's a warning to the Apple CEO by the Trump administration, and what seems to be in fact now resulting into more trouble for the Apple users is a decision that still continues to be not taken firmly by the Apple CEO for the production of the iPhones. Why exactly this is also going to be potentially targeting the Apple consumers in India as well?
Good morning, Simran. Good morning to the viewers of Newsx. I think we wait every morning for a new announcement from Donald Trump. You know, when he comes out with something or the other out of his hat. I think this fresh thing on Apple seems a little impractical to me, because the cost of skilled labor who manufacture Apple iPhones is $40 per hour if you calculate in the US, plus the availability of land in the US. An acre of land costs you a lot more than what it costs in India and China, for that matter. So I'm not sure on what basis President Trump wants these manufacturing facilities, whether it's iPhones or chips or pharmaceuticals, to move to the US, because the cost of production is phenomenally high. The cost of labor, the cost of material, the cost of logistics, everything is high, the cost of housing for the labor to stay, and so on and so forth. So he may be right in protecting his own country, bringing manufacturing to his country, but he will have to appreciate the fact that the way iPhone is available today at, let's say it starts from $800, $900, the base model, it goes up to 1,200 models in the US. There were times in 2007, Simran, when iPhone was launched. And since now, until now, 18 years since then, people used to travel to the US, and your friends and relatives used to ask them to get the iPhone because it's cheaper there. I think it's going to be the other way around now. If there is somebody from the US traveling to India and China in the times to come, you will find that they will ask, probably, get me an iPhone from India or China or any other place in the world. It's going to be completely the opposite now. So I don't think this is a very practical solution. More than half of the iPhones get consumed in the US itself.
All right.
And I don't think President Trump can afford this, neither can Apple. In fact, it will lead to loss of jobs rather than bringing jobs in the US, Simran.